Welcome to Sips with Scrubs, a nurse podcast where we talk about the good, bad, and ugly of being a nurse. Today I am joined with Bari. Those of y'all who've watched from the very beginning might remember her. It's been a long time since she's been back on here. I think like months, like maybe more than 6.
I was supposed to say, I think it's longer than that.
Yeah, it's been a long
Probably
time.
closer to a year.
Yeah. So for if there's anybody new listening, give them like a brief summation of your nursing journey.
Well, my name is Bari. I am a pediatric ICU nurse. I have been a nurse for almost 5 years. I started as a new grad in the pediatric ICU, and I am currently, I guess, doing a little bit of travel nursing, you could say. So yeah, that's kind of what I do. I've been in the same specialty my whole career. So yeah.
Yeah, so we'll get more into depth of like our different jobs. Y'all know some of mine if y'all been listening, but we'll get more into depth about our different work experiences because that's what our topic is.
Technically, I have done other things.
How so?
A little bit. I helped in PICU when they were really short. And ICU, you recover patients from the OR all the time. Mm-hmm. So they were like, well, you know how to recover patients, so come help us. So I did that, pediatric PICU for a little bit. And I've also done home health.
Oh, yeah, you did do home health.
Yeah, I did. I did home health with an adult patient, so that was interesting. But it was like private duty. So I was literally hired by this one lady to take care of the patient. And so, yeah, I guess I have done a little bit.
I know, like, when you really think about it, it's like, wait a minute. Because it's like I think we did stuff for, like, one thing for, like, a while. Mm-hmm. And then after that, we start doing different weird things, like, not typical stuff. So I think I forgot you even did that.
Yeah, me too.
Well, while we already here, how was it transitioning from like a kid to an adult?
Different for sure, but I think for me it was okay because even in pediatrics you take care of like adult.
Oh, that's right.
Patients.
I forgot you said that.
And so I think like biologically you're an adult at like 18 as far as like body functioning and how things process. And sometimes we have patients that are huge and like might be like 6, almost 7 feet tall. I've had patients that weigh over 500 pounds. Like we've had all the things. So
yeah, that's true.
It's not like I'm like completely foreign to it, but it is different. So
yeah, because then you might get those like every once in a while, not like every day.
Right.
And then also too, I forgot that you said during the pandemic, y'all opened up to to adults when you were at that hospital too.
Yes. The hospital I was working at found it appropriate for the pediatric ICU to start taking adult overflow. They were supposed to be like more stable patients, like they weren't critical adult patients. Mm-hmm. They're more like med-surg patients coming to the ICU. And of course, the very first day that rolled out, I had one.
That's how I go.
I admitted a 50-year-old man who had like a long like psych history, was taking all these psych meds and came in for like they thought might be like a heart attack. He was having like chest pain, shortness of breath, all those things. And I was like, this is not cool. And it was weird for me because I'm used to like a certain lingo. Like you don't use big words in pediatrics.
Oh, yes.
And so my other patient was an 8-year-old little girl. And then I go
to a grown
man. And so I'm walking in like, is your tummy hurting? And I was like,
he's like, what the heck?
He looked at me like, my what? And I was like, this is horrible. And then like med passing, we don't have any of the meds that man took. Because he's taking like big boy psych meds. Right. And it's like we don't carry our pharmacy doesn't have.
Yeah, that's true.
So thank God he came in with all his stuff because he had to take all of his own meds.
You're like, okay, let me go get the label thing and put it on your home
The
meds.
provider was even like, I have to look this up. Like, I don't even know.
Yeah, especially since y'all are so used to that.
Yeah.
It's funny because I asked you that, but I experienced that this past week because y'all know I'm float pool. So right now I've been in ER. I didn't expect when I was to do float pool that I'd be in ER so much. Mm-hmm. I'm like, am I an ER nurse now or what? Because I just need to know, like, do I need to take the bridge program at this point? Because I'm like, I've been down in ER for like 3 months.
Yeah.
Like every day. Yeah. I was like, okay. But anyway, it's like pros and cons to that. But on Tuesday, we were in, what did they call it? They called it fast track. It wasn't triage. So that's like after the people come into the ER lobby. The other people get their first set of vitals. That's when they're like, okay, what's wrong with you? Why did you come in here? And then they kind of decide, like, you know, some people just need some simple blood workup, and then they'll wait, and then they'll discharge from there. And then some people just need like maybe a CT abdomen or something like that. And then if it's clear, they'll discharge from there. So that's like, that was like the fast track. So that's where I was at. So that's, they don't have no IVs, nothing like that. So I was like, that hospital doesn't have a pediatric unit. So they were telling me how they get kids all the time. And I was like, what? That's crazy. Little did I know, I was going to be having kids too. So I was like, okay. So it was the same thing with you. So then it was all like 8-year-olds, 2 8-year-olds. I had a baby, 2-year-old. I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
Oh, but the 2-year-old's too cute. But she came in for a fever. It's 102 degrees, poor thing. She did so good, though, because I was like, is she going to take this medicine or not? Like, I put it in, like, the syringe to pump it in her mouth. But she did good. I was like, I'm impressed.
It's a different kind of nursing in the children world.
Yeah, and then with the 8-year-old, I'm like, I'm telling your parent what's going on with you, but then I'm about to do it to you. So then I was like, I have this for your child, but hey, you got to take this.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm like, because I remember when I did ped clinicals, I used to always like just get to the parents like, here, get this to your kid or whatever. But I was just like, what do I do? But luckily, because they don't have a pediatric unit at that hospital. Like if it was like something more, I think they would have to transfer them out. So like people were coming in with like broken arm, or like it was like a 16-year-old. He came in because he got hit in the head with a baseball, stuff like that. So it's just different, especially when you're not expecting it. They're like, oh yeah, we get ped patients, and I'm like, what? Because I be in the ER, but I be in the back, so they never make it to the back. So I was like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, not me seeing all these kids. I said, I thought it'd be like 2 for the whole shift. No, it was like 10. And I was just like, 16-year-old, like you said, he's big. So I was like, okay, you like almost an adult. So I didn't mind him because I had to get blood on him. And I'm like, I got to stick you. Like,
you'd be surprised though. It would be the teenagers that come in with all these tattoos. Like you're not even old enough to like actually sign off to get a tattoo, but they come in with all these tattoos and stuff, and they like freak out when you have to stick them. And I'm like, you're kidding me, right? Or you do drugs or whatever, which is cool. That's fine. But like, then you're upset because I have to finger poke you. Like,
yeah, I was
what?
like,
it doesn't make sense.
I was like, I gotta poke you. You know that, right? His mom really was freaking him out because his mom and him both were coming in. So I would have both patients. So then I'd like, who you want to start with first? Mom, do you want to start or what? It was weird. I'm like, I didn't do peds for a reason.
I love peds. I like that I get to like kind of like go through the spectrum of like how I give my care, how I talk to people. Because I've had teenagers and I'll be like, excuse me, like stop it. Like, that's not gonna fly with me. And they start laughing or whatever. Or they're like, listen to a song on TikTok and I like start rapping the song and do a little jig. And they're like, hey. And then next door I can go, I'm like, oh my God, you're so cute. Because I have like a little baby and I get to call the baby and they're smiling and cooing. And I don't know, I just like it. Clearly.
It's cool. I'm just like, I think I've just been with adults for so long, and I like the part of like, you don't want to do it, cool, all right, bye. Patient refuse. Like I like that, and I like that I don't really have to talk to another party. Like if the family is there, I'd be like, ask your member what's going on. They could tell you their plan of care. Like I don't have to like really try to explain to you and you or whatever. And I talk to them all the same, 22 to 80. I'd be like, grandma, what's going on? I was messing with my patient yesterday. He was like a 70-year-old man. I said, you just can't get your electrolytes together because why I got to give you 60 IV potassium? I was like, what's going on? And I was like, you got a 2 poop limit with me because he had diarrhea. I said, this is my last time cleaning you up. You better not poop no more for the rest of the shift. So he was cracking up. But I'm like, I like my old people. We cool.
Yeah, I don't.
And then the bad parts about peds, I'm like, they're not it wouldn't hit me as hard with adults as it would with a kid. So that part, I'm like, fine. You 94-year-old, it makes sense that you're dying. Like, it's like,
I get that.
How much more do you want them to be alive for? Like, they've made it. 94?
Lived a long life.
Long. I'm like, I don't know if I want to be here that long.
No,
so I'm
really
like, she can go. It's fine. So we're gonna go ahead and get into our sips for today's episode. So y'all, we're gonna be sipping on these smoothies I got down here. I was like, we need to start sipping before they start separating.
We're on a healthy kick.
Yeah, so this is
As
a
a
mango mandarin smoothie. So I got these from HEB. All you do is add water. So it's really easy. Not that many calories. I was like, y'all know how smoothies separate after a while. And I'm like, at that point, I'm like, no.
And they're not good when they're not like cold.
It's not bad. I'm not mad at it. Because sometimes I'd be like, no. But this, I haven't had a bad one from HEB yet. I've liked them all. Oh, there is a green one. But you know, whenever something's green, it's probably going to be a little bitter. This has mango, mandarin. Well, yeah, mango, mandarin, pineapple, banana. And they even put some sweet potato, it said in there. But I don't taste that.
Me either.
I think it's because I put a good amount of water in there. It says thin. I don't like my stuff thick either. I realize that, and then I have to drink it through a straw. I don't know what that's about. I don't know, but I learned myself. So that's what we're going to be sipping on throughout today's episode. So now we're going to get into bad scrubs. So this segment is about nurses who've been criminally charged, albeit at work or like off the job, and they like stolen supplies to do it. So today's not that bad. So I don't really feel like y'all need a trigger warning, because sometimes they be like a little graphic, and I'd be like, I like true crime, but I'm like, even for me, I'm like, ooh, this is a little much. But today's bad scrub's not that bad. Her name is Beverly Ann Bratcher. She's an LPN. So she works kind of like at a nursing home center, and she was charged with 1 count of second-degree vulnerable adult abuse. So she could be, if she's guilty, if they find her guilty, she'll be in jail for up to 4 years. So apparently she failed to report that a patient was administered 2 incorrect medical doses. And she was this is back in 2020, and she was supposed to be arraigned in September of that year. I was trying to find like the latest thing, because that should have resolved at this point, but I couldn't find any more new information on it other than this is what it is. So that's the bad scrub for today. And people were in the comments, they're like, well, first they were like, y'all don't know what it takes to be a nurse. Like, y'all know how many patients they can get at a nursing home and stuff like that. And I'm like, that's understandable. I feel like the mistake is understandable.
Yeah.
Your failure to report was not.
Well, I want to know what she gave.
That's what I wanted to know, too. They didn't have the name of the medications, and they didn't have, like, what the detriment was to the patient.
I'm trying to figure, because, I mean, clearly they got the wrong thing, and it caused an issue enough for it to be like abused, investigated, and like now being criminally charged. I'm like, what happened?
That's what I wanted to know too. Girl, I was digging. I went through all the articles and I couldn't find anything other than just the premise. So if y'all find any information on Beverly Ann Bratcher, y'all let us know down in the comments, because I want to know what happened too. I want to know what she gave them and what happened to them after she gave it to them.
Yeah.
Because that makes it different. Because I definitely have done that before. But I told the doctor, I was like, hey, I can't remember. I know it was Lasix.
Yeah.
But I can't remember what it was wrong that I don't remember. I think I gave too much, but I can't remember like the dosage difference. I think they put in one order for Lasix, and then they tried to take it off and then put in another order for Lasix or something like that. Like one of those once. Yeah, like one of those one-time orders. Now, I'm like, well, hell, you do your shit. You need to be faster. Do it correctly.
I've done that before. Like, I'm not sitting at a computer all hours of the day.
Yeah.
Like, if you know, like, most people know, like, what time med time is, or you know the order you just put in. Like, hey, just want to let you know, like, I changed the order, blah, blah, blah. Oh, I love those providers. Like, ooh, thank you.
That don't happen in med-surg.
I was say, it's probably different for
You're about to say, it doesn't happen in med-surg. You won't get a call.
There's always providers on
and they won't answer when you call them. If they did, they took 30 minutes to do so.
I literally was talking to Austin about that the other day, like how we're kind of like spoiled in ICU because we always have providers, and there's always multiple providers. There's usually like the MPPA, then you have the resident a lot of times, the fellow, the attending. Like there's so many providers there at all times.
Yeah, same thing with the ER. But I've been working ER whole since I am like med surg or whatever. So they treat them like they're on the floor. So we have to call the actual attendant. The ER doctor to us, like at that point, is no use. But with ER, same thing. They're just like right there, and they're like, "Hey, this patient needs Tylenol. Can you put it in?"
Love that. Love
No.
that. Love that. So from where I'm at, it's easy for them to be like, "Hey, just want to let you know, like I changed the order." And
Right.
some of them do that, and some of them don't. So it's just like,
Which one are you? And now I gotta know who you are.
it would be so much smoother because I've
Yeah.
definitely given a med that they DC'd, and I didn't see that it was DC'd.
Yeah, because I'm like, how am I supposed it like it's so much time difference between you putting in the order, me taking it out the Pyxis and giving it in the
Yeah,
room and it's still on the MAR
yeah.
versus when you try to take it off and then put something else new in.
And
That
there's definitely been times I have like been in the room, have scanned my meds, and they like are throwing up or they have diarrhea or they're like doing something. So the meds are scanned. I'm cleaning them up and then I give the meds. And literally in that meantime, it's been DC'd. And I'm
right,
like,
that's true too. Even sometimes, like yesterday, I had an antibiotic and I gave the antibiotic and then they DC'd the antibiotic and then put them on a different antibiotic. And when they do that, I'd be like, so do you still want me to give this? Or
right,
like, do you want to start the dose tomorrow?
right.
Like, I'd be on the phone with pharmacy, like, I just gave them this. Like, what
Yeah,
am I supposed to do? Because I'm like, what? But I don't know if they take into account like that type of, I don't know. It's not even really human error because like, how can you account for that? They don't know we pulled the med already
right.
or anything.
Yeah,
So I'd just be like, well,
yeah.
but I've definitely done that before and had to message the doctor and be like, hey, I already gave a 40 of IV of Lasix, so what do you want to do? Nothing happened to the patient.
Yeah.
So there is that. But evidently, that's what we're saying with this. Something had to happen to them,
For
and
her,
then she
especially
still
for her
didn't
to be
report it.
criminally charged, something for real happened.
Yeah.
Like serious.
So I'm like, I'm trying to figure out, is it the failure to report that she gave? Well, I guess they both go together. Failure to report that she gave the wrong medication or failure to report that something happened to them and then failed to report. Because if nothing happened to them, how would you know that
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
And then it says she did it twice, right?
Yeah, it said two. But what if it's the same person? It's just like,
yeah. Is it the same med pass encounter or is it like she's making a habit, like two separate occasions? Like,
yeah, it's so many questions, more questions than answers. So if y'all know anything about this case, y'all definitely comment down below and keep us updated because at this point we're like speculating.
mm-hmm.
So now we're going to get a conversation card. So you see this deck down there.
Oh. Mm-hmm. Cute. Anyway, how does a person's age play a part in how someone nurses? We were kind of already talking about that.
Yeah, that's funny.
For me, definitely, like I'll have a
Oh,
teenager.
so this, I remember when I wrote this. This, I meant the nurse. How does the nurse's age play a part in how they nurse?
Oh, okay. Yes. That makes sense. Well, it could be good and bad. A lot of the senior nurses, age. I feel like with age in life and experiences comes wisdom. So I do feel like they have a lot of wisdom, and they're able to give care based on like real life experiences and those kinds of things. But I also feel like the older you get, the more stuck in your ways you get. And like, especially in medicine, it's ever evolving and it's all based on research. And so if research shows that this is now the best practice and this is what we're going to do, like, why are you arguing with it? Just do it. And they get so stuck in like their routine and what they know. So I feel like in that way, like as far as them like growing and being open-minded and wanting to apply like new things, they some of them can kind of get like caught up in that like limbo of like them not wanting to, and they feel like they know everything and those kinds of things. But I do feel like they bring a lot of wisdom.
Yeah, for sure. But at this point, I don't be seeing a lot of y'all old nurses no more.
No, it's not many.
I'm
It's
like, I
not
don't know
many.
where y'all went. But sometimes I be like,
tired.
I need help. Like, what we supposed to do with this? Like,
They said they done playing with y'all after COVID. Like,
yeah, because I think y'all just dipped. But
Yeah.
and then the ones who stayed, I feel like they don't really care. I be like, Miss Susan, what's going on? I don't know.
I ain't gonna lie to you. A couple weeks ago, we had a patient who was trached, and we assumed she like plugged off or something. But the nurse who had her is like one of the older nurses on the. I think that lady is in her 70s, and her best friend, who's also up there in age. I don't think she's in her 70s. I think she's pushing it though.
At
They
that
were
point,
the
you
first
just need to
ones
go
to
ahead
get
and
in
tap
there.
out, bro.
They were the first ones to get in there. Clearly, it was her patient, so she was sitting right outside the door. And like, I think the other one was like around, like talking. Girl, they shuffled themselves in there. They started busting out that CPR, and after the fact, like the patient ended up being fine. After the fact, it was like the joke for the rest of the day, like how fast they moved, like the fact that they were doing CPR, and it was like affecting all these things because they were old. If this is a conversation, it's time for you to retire because
70 is too old, but one of my in my opinion, but my
it's
one of my
old.
coworkers, she said that her aunt still does it, and she's like 70 something too. Because sometimes you can't tell how old these nurses are. So
Yeah.
sometimes I'd be asking like how old, like how long you been a nurse for? And it'd be nurses, the ones that's in the float pool. They be up there. I think they be like they want something different, but those nurses are kind of different already than regular older nurses
Yeah.
because you have to be adaptable to do
Yeah.
float pool. You can't just be one way or whatever.
Yeah.
So they different than the nurses who stay on one unit and been on the unit for like 20 years. I feel like the 20-year on one unit nurses, I think sometimes they don't be giving an F no more.
They
and
don't.
I be like,
They
I
don't.
need you to give a F. I need you to. And them, they different than these ones I'm talking about. But them, I be like, girl, they are not tech savvy. They just be struggling. I be like, and how long you been a nurse? Ain't it been since I've been alive?
Literally.
I'm like, you got to get it together.
Literally.
But they just be skating on by.
I know a lot of the ones at my old facility. All they did was charge. All they did was charge, the older ones. And so one lady in particular, somehow she got put at the bedside.
Oh, she was struggling.
She was struggling. And she had a 2-patient assignment.
And what be killing me is I'd be like, y'all got so much smack to talk. Well, you
So
charge, but you can't do it.
You cannot do it. And I remember I was so irritated because she kept asking me to help her do everything. I'm like, I have my own assignment. Why don't you know how to give blood?
Girl.
And you're the charge. You're supposed to know how to do
That's a basic
almost
nursing skill.
everything. Like,
yeah, if you charging, I need you to know as much as I know,
exactly.
plus more.
And then some. Yes.
Plus more. Now,
man.
see, I took my old charges for granted because I thought that was regular. I was like, I just thought that that's how you're supposed to be as a charge nurse.
Yeah.
Then when I got to my last hospital, I found that wasn't the case. And at one point, I had asked my manager, like, no disrespect, but what do the charge nurses here do? Because they didn't have patients. So I've never experienced that before. Because at my old facility, they had 2 patients, R1. Then when we became IMU, they had none, but they would sit down, of course, at times, but they were doing stuff. And I knew what they did. Partly because I relieved charge, so I knew what they did. But then, like, at this one, I'm like, it was so many responsibilities they didn't have to do in comparison to my last job that I was like, what do they do?
Yeah.
Because when I asked her, can you start IV for me? You looking at me funny. You don't got no patience. You can't start this IV for me? I used to have so much like hostility in my heart because I'm like, I'm not understanding what the issue is.
Yeah.
You have no patience. Ain't no meetings. Get off your phone. They be on their phone.
Yeah. What about these young nurses, though? I feel like I'm really scared of a lot of them.
Now, what are young nurses? Because now we've been nurses for like 5 years.
Yeah.
So the baby nurses.
The baby nurses. I feel like.
I feel still like young, but I'm like, I know what I'm doing.
I definitely feel young still.
In the grand scheme of things.
I feel like the mind frame of them is different, though.
Really? Because I've not been around them a lot. And then the ones that I was around, young in age or young in experience?
Age more than anything.
Because
like these nurses
one of
that are graduating at like 22, 23,
because I think that
21.
the one that is younger, but she already worked on a unit, so she knew, and she was with us, so we treated her like she was us, so she act like us. I hadn't had an experience yet with like brand new, and when it was brand new and they were young, that was when I was still kind of younger, and they were okay. I'm trying to think of one. I have some, but they not that young. But I'd be looking at them like, girl, you need to ask some questions and do some investigating.
Look, I think because ICU has such a high turnover rate, we get new people all the time. And these young nurses, young in age and young in experience, it's like, I'm scared. Like, y'all, first of all, you're overconfident. The
Oh,
fact that
okay,
you're
yeah.
not nervous being here, especially in the pediatric ICU, makes me nervous.
Okay, I had one guy like that I precepted, and it worried me that he wasn't worried, and that was right before COVID happened. And
Yes.
when I tell you I was stressed about him being on that unit, I was like, he's gonna get us all killed, especially because then we didn't know like what it all
Yeah.
entailed.
Yeah.
Like when we started first doing like the precaution, like literally it was like first week of COVID type of stuff, and we didn't know what the hell this is. People are dying. Like I need y'all to remember what it was like back then. We thought we was gonna die. Like, and he just taking his phone out of his pocket in the isolation room and all this stuff. I said, this ain't no ESBL of the urine. We don't know what this is. He had me stressed. I was like, he's gonna kill us. He's gonna kill us all. I text my manager that day. He has to get off the unit. He has to go somewhere else because he's gonna kill us.
Yeah.
So I've experienced that firsthand and gave me so much anxiety. And I don't feel like I'm a very anxious person, but when I see that, I'd be like, bro, you're gonna kill somebody.
You're gonna kill somebody. Like, you are overconfident. You don't really pay attention to detail. I feel like a lot of them are in nursing because nursing was so broadcasted like during COVID times and like travel nursing and all that kind of stuff. Like, I feel like these are the people who are just now getting out of nursing school when they like travel nursing and COVID was like a huge thing. And I'm just like, you actually have to use your brain. Like, you can't just show up here, be on your phone, drink your Starbucks coffee, and then just say you're a nurse. Like,
So you trying to be
no.
cute. You trying to be one of the Instagram girlies.
Got your fake scrubs on with your clove shoes or your hokas or whatever is popping right now, and just no. There's more to it than putting the clothes on and showing up.
Yeah, because the pandemic nurses, those ones are a little bit different. I feel like because they came during the craziness. But I felt scared for them because I'm like, y'all didn't even have clinicals.
Exactly.
So like, I was scared because of the
Exactly.
inexperience. So now these other people are coming in after. So those I haven't encountered. So you know better than I do.
It's scary.
Cause I be folk pool, so honest, I be minding my business. I be
It's
like, don't ask me
scary.
no questions.
Yeah.
Don't ask me. I mean, you can ask me to help me, but don't ask me to help you. Like, don't really like. You can ask me, but don't ask me.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know. It's your unit.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen them as much. I just be seeing people who not good at their job in general.
Yeah, and I don't really feel like you should be scared as a baby nurse because working scared, moving scared is not good either. But details, like, I feel like you should be overly focused on details, overly paying attention, overly like asking questions because you don't realize how much you don't know.
Right.
Like, school is wonderful, but it doesn't really teach you how to be a nurse. And then when you go into a specialty, there's still a whole nother world like you just don't know. And I feel like they're just overly confident.
I understand that because I always felt like that. Because I used to tell that boy, I'm like, you need to move with a sense of urgency. Like, he was too lax for me. I'm like, and that's when we were IMU because we were IMU before we converted to COVID. So I'm like, I need you to like little oomph in your step. Like, when I call your name, you need to get in the room now.
Yeah.
Like, you need to be in the room now. Like, this ain't no joke. Like, maybe you could do that on the med-surg unit, but not here. Because you could go either way. I don't know if I'm going to have to send you to ICU today. I don't know if you go die, or I don't know if we go downgrade you. It's just like a whole bunch of I don't know.
Yeah.
And then we don't have a provider on the floor. So we going to have to do what it takes until somebody get here.
Yeah.
That's what people not understanding.
Crazy. Yeah, that's crazy. I'd have so much anxiety working on the floor.
When I tell you I've yelled at so many people, I was like, I'm going to go get in trouble one day. Ain't no cuss words come out, but I'd be like, aggressive.
Yeah.
I get aggressive. I be like, I'm not playing. Like, you think this is a game? This way he's dying. I'm like yelling, like, you need to get up here now. But the blood pressure, I don't care what the blood pressure is. I know what I'm talking about. Get up here now. I know them people be like, this girl, something's wrong with her. It is, because I think like something's happening and you're not moving fast enough for me.
Right.
So I need you to come on. So one of the topics I wanted to talk about today was just kind of like jobs in general and like how as nurses, especially now, it's kind of shifted. Like, we kind of hospital hop a little bit in comparison to how the older nurses were. Like, we were talking about the nurses
100%.
age thing. They'd stay at one hospital and they'd stay there forever. They don't care if the company not good. They comfortable. They not moving. They know these people. Whereas us millennials, I think we started that. Maybe the people right above us, they might have been moving around a little bit too. Because I know Pumpkin moved around a little bit.
That's just her personality.
Okay, so it's just her. It's not like her gender.
Yeah. No, that is strictly like, that is just her.
Okay. Because I know us millennials, like, we be like, I don't like it here. You're not paying me enough. I don't want to do your crap. I'll find somewhere else.
Yeah.
And then if we not happy wherever else we just found,
Yeah.
we go somewhere else until we find what we're looking for. Mm-hmm. So how do you feel about that whole thing?
I feel like that's very true. We're definitely a generation, like, if it don't serve us, we ain't doing it.
And the one below us really don't give a crap. At least I think we give a little bit of the crap, but we still not staying for the BS.
Yeah. I feel like my friends who are like mid-30s, like I say like 35 and above, they have had different jobs, but they're like, they've been there for 5 years, 6 years, and then they move on.
Okay.
So I feel like they kind of maybe open the door to like, yeah, this ain't it.
Like, yeah, nah.
Yeah. And they stay long enough, to like really establish something, really grow, whatever. And then they like move around. But I feel like that's kind of all of them. They've all maybe worked at like 3 facilities and they've been at each one for like years versus I'm going to be here 6 months and then I'm out. Or I'm going to be here a year and I'm out. Because that's a lot of us and people below us.
Yeah, like a year, 2 years. But I feel like I could kind of get a good grasp of, especially now that I'm like, been through so many different things. Like, it doesn't take me long to figure out if I'm going to like this or if I'm not going to like it or whatever. Yeah. I definitely feel like for your first job, how do you feel about how long you should stay there?
It depends on your level of nursing, in my opinion.
As far as what does that mean?
I feel like now, if we get there, I don't think it takes a year to be like, yeah, this ain't going to work.
For your first nursing job?
For my first nursing job, I feel like give it a year.
Okay.
At least a year for the first, because it's just hard being new to nursing. It comes with its own challenges, and then trying to figure out the hospital and like your unit and the way things flow there. So I definitely feel like you need a year. It's kind of like 6 months to kind of like get out the kinks and feel what it's like to like learn how to be a nurse. And then like the 6 months on your own, and then, see how people treat you when you're a nurse on your own. Because at first, like 3 or so, you're with a preceptor.
Yeah. So I'm like, that's not real to me. I'm like, that doesn't even count.
No.
Like, until you're on your own, like, you need to be in it.
Yeah.
And then you can start trying to assess, like, if this is for me. Because I'm like, that you still got a crutch.
I feel like you need at least a year.
I feel like, okay, I feel about the same. Because I think for my first job, I think I already knew I wasn't going to stay there, but I was going to give it time because first I had a contract. So that changes things too. And we going to get into contracts later. But I think I knew around the year mark, I was like, nah, like, I'm going to have to find something else.
I think a year gives you time to like get out like the normal anxiety of being new. Like I said, actually having a little bit of time to learn your job enough to like make it through 12 hours and not kill someone. And then, also gives you time to like get your emotions out the way, because sometimes everything's like is new, you're like emotionally driven and you're like, oh, I hate this, I hate that, everything is horrible. And then after a while you kind of like start getting your own groove, you start settling, especially when you're doing it on your own. You no longer have a preceptor, you find your own rhythm on how you get things done. And I feel like that is really when you get the chance to be like, this is a yes or this is a no.
Okay, yeah. With that being said, what's the shortest job you've had? And then why'd you leave?
In nursing?
Yeah.
6 months.
What was that? Was that when you transferred to the new location?
Katie, yeah.
Okay.
I was there 6 months. I was like, yeah, I'm out. So, couple reasons. One, they pissed me off. To this day, they owe me money.
Huh?
Do y'all use Chronos for clocking in and out?
Yeah.
Remember last year when they had that, or technically it wasn't last year, I don't think. When they had that Chronos down, it was like hacked or something.
Oh.
When Chronos was hacked and they like shut the whole system down.
I think I've heard something about that.
That was 2020. Like November 2020. Yeah, because I've been traveling for a year. So it had to be 2020. Well, unfortunately, that was the week that I worked 6 days, and um, we had to like do paper charting, all this stuff. You have to be responsible for your own hours. So me and my friend went through combed through that to make sure I got all my money. And to this date, they owe me like $1,500.
I'm screaming.
And they were like paying me. I remember one time they sent me a check for $59, and I messaged my manager and I was like, "You still owe me money." Like, this was like something that went on for like almost a month, 2 months, like a month and a half. Me going back and forth with them.
What?
And she was like, "Well, they said they paid you." I screenshotted the thing and I sent it to her. I said, "This is barely an hour's worth of pay.
I'm telling you.
Make it make sense. And you owe me time and a half."
Y'all saw how serious she got, right?
And then you have the audacity to ask me to come in and help you. You still owe me money for stuff I already worked for.
That's crazy. So how was like? So were y'all having to write like on that little timesheet, like when you came in and when you came out, and like did you take pictures of that?
I did all that, but the issue was when we started having to do that, I had already worked everything, so I had to go back, and we were like backlogging because it seemed like it went out like that week when I worked 6 days, and it was like at the end of the week, and they said they didn't have any record of anything or whatever.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't nothing like you could prove or whatever.
Well,
Well, you had your schedule.
I was about to say,
I'm like, you got the schedule, so you know I work. So
right.
Where is the amount from this day to this day?
I can't remember specifically how we had the numbers, but we had the exact numbers. When I clocked in, when I clocked out, my lunchtime, all the things. But it was like the time and a half and all that stuff that we had to factor in. And I was like, I don't work in HR. I'm
not a bookkeeper.
Yeah,
like
and so
timekeeper.
I got my friend. We literally sat down and went shift by shift by shift, like doing all the math, making sure, and we were having shift incentives. So it was the incentive that we were having to factor in. It was the time and a half we were having to factor in, normal pay. Like, it was all these numbers. We finally got it down, and I sent it to them, and they were just, it was constant struggle battle. Well, they said I was like, "Ma'am, at this point, you have all my information. I have sent you every screenshot of every time card, check, and all the above to show you that y'all got me messed up."
I know how I get behind my money, because I remember one time they tried to play me. Girl, they be trying to play you about your money. And I'm like, it's not going to happen here, because when I tell you I'm like a hawk when it comes to my money, I really am, because we work for it. So I think that's why we get so like lit behind it. But I remember one time at this hospital I'm at now, this hospital system, when they hired me, they told me that they had, let your friends know, whatever. There's referral bonuses. And at that time, the referral bonus was as much as the sign-on bonus. So I was like, cool.
Say less.
Right. So I think my sign-on bonus was like $10K, but they broke it up where it's like after 2 weeks, you get 2. After 6 months, you get 2. After a year, you get 2, 4, 6. And then after 2 years, you get the rest, 4. So
red flag.
The referral bonus was, and we go get to some red flags in just a minute. So the referral bonus was paid out the same. It was going to match it. So then you began to double, essentially, if you refer somebody. So I was like, cool, because I already knew people looking for jobs. So I referred my friend, and she started like not even like a month after me. It's kind of like I scoped out the unit, and I was like, okay, it's cool or whatever. It's better than we were at. Like, come here. So she came there, and then they were trying to like, and when she got her 2-week one, I was like, well, where mine at? So I always have my receipts. I thank my mama for this. I was going through the emails, and I was like, I wouldn't have referred her, but I'm like, the reason I referred her is because y'all told me this at this time, because they were trying to say I wasn't an employee at the time of when I referred her, because I hadn't finished like the orientation and all that. I said, but that's not what you said. You said this. So then, since they're a credible company, because if it was a jank company, then they still could have just been like, nah, but they credible. So I'm like, girl, don't play with me, because that's the thing with credible people. You have to hold your integrity, or I'm gonna find something to exploit y'all. Like,
for sure.
So since they're like that, if it was my old hospital, forget it. But anyway, so I was able to hold their feet to the fire and be like, this is what y'all said, and because y'all said this is why she's here, or whatever. And then they ended up, first, it was a long way to give me my money. They're like, oh, we need to talk to this because this is unprecedented, blah, 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 blah. Okay, well, figure it out. And then I kept having to like email the recruiter, hey, just trying to remind you of this. Hey, just want to update on this. Hey, girl, what I tell you on that app? Oh, we not going to forget about
No.
10K. 10K? Please.
No.
I'm not forgetting that. So I'm on their butt. I was like, oh, it's been a while since I checked in. Let me message them.
Right.
It took me a while to get it, but I ended up getting it.
Well, I ain't got mine to date. So that was part of the reason.
That's ghetto.
Right. I was already wanting to travel. Me and my husband were already like talking about finances and what we were going to do for the future or whatever. And working their staff did not line up with that. And so I was already like kind of 1 foot out the door. It was really convincing him to let me go. And then that happened and he saw how mad I was and he was there for that week and how hard I worked. 6 days, 6 12s in a row is a lot.
3 in a row is plenty.
It's plenty. And I did 6.
Yeah, I would say 3 is plenty. 4 is like, 5 is suicide and 6 is death.
When I tell you to date, they owe me money. And I was
Leave
just
me
like,
at the hospital. Y'all got a lounge I could sleep in
I
at
was
that
like,
point.
say less.
Yeah, that would have
out.
me heated too.
I'm out. But when I'm done traveling, I want to go back there. So
that's fine.
it was a good facility. Like, I love the facility. The unit was clutch.
And it was close to your house.
It was close to my house. It was everything that I want. I didn't have to slave every day. Like, only some days, not every day.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Because it was like a community hospital.
Yeah,
the acuity was less.
The acuity was less.
Because she was used to working in medical centers.
Yes.
Different than
it
communities.
I was like, I could see, like, I see why there's so many, like, older nurses here. Because it's chill. So chill.
But that's what I was telling one people. I was at the ER at this other community hospital. I'm like, this ain't even a real ER. Let's be for real. Like, I could work here and be like, my IMU at the other place was harder than the ER. That's crazy. But really, location do matter. That plays a difference.
So that's why I left. So 6 months.
So you brought up red flags, and I want to talk about this anyway. I did. So what's some red flags to you?
That sign-on bonus mess that I
had that mentioned. As one, 2 sign-on bonuses. Because whenever they got a sign-on bonus, that means they're severely short and they begging for people to come.
And run me my money up front. Like, don't try and trap me here and spreading it out time over time.
That's what they want to do because they want the retention.
Yeah, for sure.
But the thing is, nurses make money. If I want the money, I'm going to get it one way or another. So actually, I left before the contract ended. I did a 1 year and then I left. So I lost the rest. But I was like, what I'm about to make is going to compensate for that. And with the other factors, like, that benefited me of leaving. So that money wasn't missed. But I'd be like, they really be trying to like try to keep you.
They do.
But I'm like, nah.
That contract thing is a red flag too.
That's one of mine too.
Why are you going to force me to stay here?
But the contracts be broken all the time. I think the only contracts that I've seen like is like the new grad contracts where they really be trying to come behind people and be like, you need, because then if you have a contract and a sign-on bonus and they give it to you all up front, I've seen it where people had to pay it back.
Yeah, I have too.
So y'all be careful out here.
That is ridiculous.
So really the time out one is better because like with mine, I was able to dip and there was no repercussions for me. But technically it wasn't a contract. It was just that was how the sign-on bonus was allocated. So you'd prefer that over a contract because then it's like more binding, I feel like. But those are all red flags because those are like, y'all are desperately in need of people. And then that means when you get there, ain't no resources.
No.
Ain't nobody to help you. Don't nobody know what's going on. It's going to be short. You go have more patients than you probably should have. So you really don't want it. Unless you just know we going in with the mindset like I'm about to hustle to get this. I wouldn't advise it.
No.
The other red flag I had was a staff full of new grads or travelers and agency nurses.
Yeah. You can't keep a nurse. You cannot keep a nurse. And
there's a reason for that.
There's a reason.
Once you find out what that reason is, it won't take long to find out. Because even as like a float pool, I'd be like, oh.
And I say that as a traveler. Please keep doing a crappy job so that I can have a job. But definitely a red flag as a staff nurse.
Right. It's like, why can't you keep anybody here?
Yeah.
So maybe that'd be a good interview question for y'all to ask.
I see it's a little bit different too because the patient ratio is 2 to 1. So it's not like a med surg thing where you can end up with however many patients. You have 2 patients max. So
I don't know because like they be saying max and the max don't be the max.
that's probably a true thing in the adult world where I've heard adult ICUs getting 3 patients. They're all on like
They be like,
circuits and ECMOs
we shouldn't, and they do. So what is it really? Because they'll tell you the nurse to patient ratio, and it's not the nurse to patient ratio. I think I had that at my last job I was at. They sold me a false dream, and that was one of the reasons why I left, because you lied in my face, and I feel insulted because just say what it is.
Yeah.
You said you was IMU. You not IMU. You half med surg, half IMU. And the IMU is new, and y'all staff not even IMU trained.
Yeah.
They got trained for 1 day. Please, how?
No.
How? I said
No.
when I got trained for IMU, we trained for months, and we took modules, and y'all got trained for a day?
No.
Absolutely not. It was just all a lie. Then they were talking about the nurse-patient ratio, where barely on a good day, because then when we are staffed, they pull somebody to go to somewhere else. So I just be like, no. So they be saying, oh, we only get this many people. Lies you tell. But I heard through the grapevine. Now I don't have to worry about this because I'm float. But if I should ever go staff again, I heard with magnet hospitals, they can't exceed 4 patients for med surg. That's what I heard, because that's part of like the magnet status thing.
I love that for us.
But I've seen it. Oh, they magnet or whatever. It ain't 4-1. It's 5-1 on a normal day. So when the people come around,
So you better report it.
I'm about to say, I said, now that I know that, I didn't know that before.
Report it. And Jaco do a drop-in visit.
I'm a snitch. You know how they be lying. Oh, say this. How they be trying to clean up the unit. And, say this if they ask you questions. No, that's your time to be like, hey. I bet if they lose that magnet status, they go figure out a way to make it how it's supposed to be. Because that's one of the reasons why they are getting those credentials, is because they're putting a facade.
Exactly.
But I learned that. So I don't know. We in Texas, so I don't know. I'm just letting y'all know what I heard. I didn't look it up because it doesn't affect me at this point. But I was like, we definitely was not 4-1 on the med surg unit. And it was like the staffing had to be like this certain amount of nurse patient ratio on each unit for them to also qualify to be magnet. I was like, good to know.
That I was gonna say, as it should be, because you're supposed to get the best quality of care. Like magnet is like really like high esteem as far as like hospital accreditations and credentialing or whatever the word is. But you out here with like unsafe patient ratios. So how are we giving the best care that we can, but we have 6 patients or like more patients than the allotted or whatever? So it totally makes sense. I hope that's a real thing. I hope it totally makes sense.
Yeah, so y'all look it up. I didn't look it up because, like I said, at this point, it don't affect me. I stay 4-1, so I'm good.
At the community hospital that I was at before I started traveling, I had 3 patients in the ICU, but they were like not
actually ICU.
Yeah, they were patients that could go to the floor. I don't know why they weren't on the floor, but it was just like a lighter load of patients. You might have one that was busy, but the other 2 were like super chill.
Okay. And that's a little bit different too, because then they'll try to say stuff like that too. Well, this person is just this or whatever.
No.
So.
But this is only doing that in ICU.
This is what you said, and this is what I got. So
yeah.
What is it really? Yeah, and that's another reason why I won't go back to that job. Like that unit specifically, I like that location is right there. Yeah. But I was like, y'all playing games out here.
Yeah.
So I can't return. Because they didn't have any, not credentials, protocols, I guess you could say, or standards for what makes a patient IMU. It was whatever the doctor determined. And although my last hospital system was trash, we had IMU standards. And it's like the patient had to be like kind of unstable, stable is like what we called it. So your hemoglobin 5 or something crazy or whatever, but you don't have any symptoms. Okay, we'll take you. You're like on heated high flow oxygen. Okay, we'll take you. Like continuous BiPAP. Okay, we'll take you. Non-titratable drips. All right, we'll take you. Like this facility had none of that. So they just be like, I'm like, I don't know what the doctor's doing. They be like, "Oh, this patient's IMU. Why are they IMU?
Right.
They're on 7 liters high flow. What? Let's put them back on the regular floor, please."
I was like, we give that in peds.
That ain't nothing.
That ain't nothing.
Then it was one, I can't remember the other ones, but a lot of it was oxygen because it was around COVID time. But I'm like, that's not an IMU patient. So that's why I'm like, but at the same time, I'm like, I'm not going to really say nothing because that's easy patient for me.
Right.
So,
Right.
but I'm like, they're not supposed to be IMU. But then it'd be, so it wasn't like clear cut, and I don't like that. If it's not like this or that, like with patient safety type of stuff, then nah, because then it's like some cases where I feel like patients should be ICU, but because ICU short, now they with me. What? I don't like that. If I wanted to be ICU nurse, I'd be down there with them, where I got my pharmacy and my doctor with me, so I could look out the window and be like, help.
Come to the chaos, Lainey.
No.
Come to the chaos.
It's too much work. At this point,
really not.
At this point, I'm trying to do the least amount possible.
Adult world, it probably is, but peds is cool. It's chill.
I'm trying to do the least amount possible.
Me too, child. That's why I'm a traveler.
And that's given float pool, because I'd be like, oh, I don't know anything. I don't know how to do that.
I feel like at this point, I could be float pool too. My only no is I do not do ER. That is above my threshold of what I can handle.
It's not really ER for like regular person though.
I cannot, will not, have no desire.
Because ER nursing is different. So they don't give you they don't give you ER patients when y'all in ER. Because I know y'all be scared to go down to the ER. They don't give you ER patients. But you have to stand your ground and be like, I ain't taking that too. Some of that be y'all fault. Y'all don't be telling people no. Y'all just let them give y'all whatever.
I feel like I would feel like a new grad all over again. Like that anxiety and like fear of the unknown. And it could be because I work in critical care. The unknown could be a hot unknown mess, okay? And that anxiety that I used to feel as a new grad, I feel like I would constantly be that in the ER. You just never know what's going to roll through the door.
You don't?
No, I cannot.
Yeah, but as a regular floor nurse, you're not going to get real ER patients down there. They're going to stabilize them, and they're going to be floor appropriate by the time you get them. That's how it is for me anyway. But at the same time, you got to be looking at them and be like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
That's not for me. You need to stabilize them, or they need to be ICU. Like, I'm not taking them. So that's why I said some of that be y'all fault.
At this point, I don't work the floor too, because I go to the floor all the time at the facility that I'm at.
Really?
I be taking me some 4 patient assignments and everything. I'm like, look at me.
I know, because last time you didn't like that.
Look at me. And I really don't be phased. I'm like, all right. And so, of course, some days are busier than others, but
4 patients isn't bad.
It can be busier than others. Some days I'm chilling, and then some days I'm like, good Lord. And of course, they want to give me the first bed on the unit, and then the last bed on the unit, and then one in the middle. Yeah. I'm like, I done walked 12 miles today.
Now that I'm been in ER and the turnover be like this, I be like, what's in the mission? Nothing, because I've seen 10 patients today, whereas on the floor I'm going to see like maybe 6. Because I'll have 2 discharges and 2 admissions. Like, it's nothing. I'm like, what's this patient here for? Where's the IV? Cool. I actually really don't even know what IV is at. I'll look it up on the chart.
Yeah.
What are they here for? What did you do for them? What are we doing for them? Cool. Can they walk? Can they talk? Can they pee?
Yeah.
That's all I need to know. Mm-hmm. So what do you think makes a good job and a bad job a bad job?
For me, I feel like it all starts at the top. If your leadership is trash, the unit is going to be trash. That's just my opinion. I come from a unit where the leadership was friends with the staff, and it caused a lot of issues because if someone had an issue with one of the people that was their friend, issues weren't resolved, and the issue was then broadcast to the unit, and it's literally like Mean Girls, like we're in high school all over again. Like, you cannot be in leadership and are not able to draw the line between being the leader and being the friend. Like, and then I feel like the leadership has to have backbone, and they have to be willing to like kind of push back and go against the grain. Like, y'all can't be laying down, letting the people above y'all just say whatever they want to say to run your unit. They're not there. Like, they don't know how this thing flows. Like, no, you need to be like, no, that's not going to work for us because of X, Y, and Z or whatever. But where I'm at now, the director of the unit was a nurse. And I feel like that's what makes a lot of difference is a lot of times the leadership are like business people or like public health or whatever, but
Yeah,
they
you can't relate.
yeah, they have never actually been bedside. Like you don't actually know what it takes. And so he really started off as a CNA and then like through the years worked his way up to a nurse.
So really from
From
the ground up.
bottom,
Yeah.
yes. And now he's the director of the ICU.
Come on, director of ICU.
And it makes a difference. Like it really does. When nurses have concerns or they,
you take them seriously because you know what it feels
yeah,
like. The
like
relatability.
He really treats you like a human.
Because even like with regular people, y'all know this, like for regular people, you talk to them about your troubles at work and they be like, oh, this sounds hard. They don't really know what that means. Like they be like, oh, okay, it ain't hitting the same. It ain't hitting like you talking to another nurse and they be like, you did that?
Right.
It's not the same. So I can see how that could play a part.
Even before I actually was an employee there, he had called me for an interview and the day he called me, I was at a funeral. And I told him that and I was like, so-and-so passed. He's like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, we'll talk tomorrow. And I was like, no, like we can talk later. I'm just like at this very moment, like I'm in the funeral, like maybe an hour from now or whatever. And I was like, I really don't want you to like give the job to somebody else. And he was like, that's not something you have to worry about. Enjoy your family, lay your loved one to rest and we will talk later. It was actually the funeral was on a Saturday. And he said, we'll talk on Monday. I was like, wait, no, please. I need this job. He was like, that is not something you have to worry about. He's like, I understand loss. Like my brother passed away not too long ago. He was like, take the time with your family. Like you'll be fine.
See, and that shows a lot because some people don't give a F at all.
Thank you. Yeah. And I'm still there. So, but it makes a difference. I really really good Lord. It really and truly feels like it starts from the top and like you lead by example and yeah.
I think coworkers make a big difference too, but the bad thing about that is like you can't control the coworkers with nursing because it's like, okay, maybe you have a good team this year, but maybe a lot of them end up leaving the next year. Yeah. So it's like you can't even really bank on that entirely.
Yeah.
Because, well, maybe unless they have some staff that they've been there for like a certain amount of years and they probably aren't going to go anywhere. That's fine, but it's like some of them, like you might be really attached to this like one person or something like that, and they might not be staying there like too long. So I feel like that's kind of like 50-50.
I also feel like it depends on like you can make that culture on the unit, and though they might not show up being like that, and they may never like fully conform to like being a team player or what, we all help each other out or whatever the situation is.
If you set the precedent.
Yeah.
Like this is like the expectation of the unit.
Yeah. I definitely feel like over time they'll start to flow with y'all because as much as we hate it and it's not always for our benefit, people you hang around is who you become, period. So like if you are around strong nurses and we are a family here and we really back each other up and blah 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 blah, like eventually they're gonna get there.
So you got to think about that when you get people on your unit because those people are there to stay at least for a certain amount of time. So I feel like you really got to pour into them if you want them to be quality nurses. That kind of goes with that. Instead of just being like, well, it's not that nurse. Yeah. It's like, okay, is that nurse going to be able to be dependable during the cold? Like, I need you to, like...
Exactly.
And we've talked about that before, me and Kelsey, because we felt like at some points, it's like, you give all the tough patients or all the harder patients to certain nurses, but it doesn't give the other people a chance to rise to the occasion. So really you're stifling them.
Absolutely.
And then you ended up being mad at how they are in the end when you enabled it.
Absolutely.
Essentially.
Absolutely. So, that was a unit I grew up on. Like I said, it was very cliquey. And so the clique got the sick patients. And you have all these new grads or like nurses who've been nursing for like 2 years behind someone who's been nursing for like 5 or whatever and a part of the clique who can't grow. We cannot grow. Like there was no room for us. And so what would happen was you're short staffed and you just throw someone in there and they don't know what they're doing. They're anxious because they haven't had a chance to like actually learn and like know how to manage these things that they now have to take care of, and then they mess up, and then you talk about them.
Which then makes it even worse.
Which makes it worse.
Now it's like now I made a mistake. So this is how we end up on Bad Scrubs.
Yeah.
So then you make a mistake. You don't want to say that you make a mistake because how you just talked about me. And then also I don't want to put myself out there anymore because I felt judged. And the last time when I did it, I drowned.
Yeah.
So it's like multifaceted.
That definitely that was how it happened on my unit. It literally was, you just got thrown in there, sink or swim. And if you sunk, they for sure was going to talk about you. It was like, but you were not able to healthily grow and be exposed to these things, which I feel like the unit I'm at now, they do a very good job of that. I don't feel like their patients are as sick as what we saw at my first hospital, but they do a very good job of, like, say your patient starts decompensating during your shift, there's plenty of people there supporting that new nurse, talking them through, answering questions, doing tasks, whatever, and they come back and they give them their patient back. As you should. Like, they were the ones here doing all the things, running around like headless chickens, trying to stabilize the patient. They've done all this work, and then you give it to someone else? Why? No, they need to learn. And they do a very good job of having these new grads, like, taking challenging assignments and, like, pushing them to grow. And I really applaud them for that. And that's a conversation I talked about with my husband. Like, do you want to... I told them it's like swimming lessons. My first hospital, they gonna throw you in the deep end, and then we gonna see if you gonna swim or you gonna drown. This hospital, you actually go to swimming lessons. You know, so either way. And I was like, what do you want to do? Because he will be graduating hopefully soon with a nursing degree. He was like, I think I'm more of a just throw me in there and see if I drown. I'm like, of course you are. So
I was trying to figure out which one I am. I think it depends on what it is.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's like no preparation can help you. Like, you just gonna have to figure it out. Like, all the talking, it's
That's
nice.
true.
But when the situation comes, it's like, sometimes some stuff is just like thrown out the window because of what the situation is at hand. So you just have to learn by fire, especially with nursing. So I think the ultimate overarching thing should be swimming lessons because it's a more... I don't want to say compatible, but you're able to make mistakes.
Yeah.
You're able to learn. You feel comfortable, essentially.
I feel like you learn the proper form. You know, like, I feel like if you know people who are self-taught swimmers, they swim wild. And it's not really efficient if they were really trying to get A to B the fastest.
Okay, yeah.
They doggy pedaling, fighting the water, doing all the thing. Do they drown? No. Eventually they will get there. But if yeah, like you said, efficiency. You're burning more calories. You're tiring yourself out more in the process. Yeah.
You're not going as far. Okay,
and
that's a good
like
analogy.
With swimming lessons, you learn the proper form, you learn the proper way to do things. And yeah, you know, like, you might catch a cramp. Sometimes you might get tired. Like, wrenches are thrown. And like you said, you got to abort the mission and just do what you got to do right then.
Yeah.
But you move more efficiently, more effectively because you have that knowledge base.
That makes sense to me. Sometimes I just be like, I just want to build my own unit. Because I be like, I don't like any of them. Like, I'm like, you had this and you had that, but no one has it all, which is what I be trying to tell people.
Sure.
You won't find everything at one place because sometimes it might not even be the hospital. Sometimes it's just like one unit, but you don't know that because you only own one unit. So that's one of my things as a float pool nurse. I'm like, I get to peep the scenes and be like, So if I ever do want to go back staff, I can be like, this one.
Yeah.
And I've seen it like in real life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was listening to this podcast the other day, Amanda Seals. Do you know who that is? Okay, I can't remember which episode she was talking about this on, but she was saying that she feels like there's 3 sides to every career choice. She said money, people, and then like the content. And she was saying that she feels like those will influence people whether to like go or stay. And I was like, okay, I think that's like pretty right on.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, sometimes you can have, and then you just got to figure out what's for you or what's important for you at that time.
Absolutely.
Because sometimes you'd be willing to take less money if you feel like you're fulfilled in your job and the people there are great and things of that nature. And then other times where you might need more money for whatever situation you're going through at the time. So you might have to sacrifice
Absolutely
some of the others. So I was like, okay, that's a little good way of putting it. I've never like categorized it like that.
For sure. I like that.
Yeah.
I definitely, right now, it's all money. So Thankfully, I like where I'm at. I think the road might be coming to an end here soon, so we'll see. But it was definitely chasing money. Like I didn't know I was gonna like the unit when I got there. You can ask people's opinions, but again, a lot of those are like emotional based, and depending on where you trained, like it could be a lot for you because you trained at somewhere that wasn't as like high acuity or
That's true
something.
too.
Um, but it was strictly all money based. But I know when I was at my first facility, those people were mad because they couldn't grow. They couldn't get harder patients because they didn't want to entertain the foolishness. So they left to go get, more opportunity to grow in the critical care world. So I definitely agree with what she's saying.
Because I was trying to think about my situations too, and I'm like, because there's a lot of things that play a factor to me, like with nursing. Location definitely is one,
Oh yes, Lord.
because I know my first job, that's part of the reason why I was a no, because it was an hour away from my house, and it was on night shift. Which night shift was cool, but it ain't cool when it's 1 hour away.
Right.
And then, like I said, with the lifestyle, depending on what you want. So at the time, we didn't want night shift. It wasn't conducive to the lifestyle. So then it's like, okay, you need to get on the right shift. So I feel like a lot of varying external factors, not even with working, plays a part with us too. I guess that's all jobs, though. Location, travel type stuff. Y'all don't really got to pick y'all shifts as y'all regular. Y'all just go to work in the morning. But for us, we got to figure out what works best for us. And even when I was looking at this, it was like a hybrid tele job, like a tele nursing job. They had mid shifts. So then I was like, do I want to do that? I was like, I could work out in the morning,
Yeah.
and then I could go in, and it's not nice, so I could still sleep regular.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of different stuff. And like with ER nurses, they do the different shifts like that. Everyone else is like 12 to 12 or whatever. Well, 12 hours, but it's like 7 to 7 is what I meant to say. But they have all types of weird shifts in ER.
They do.
So it's like that also plays a part. It's just like a lot that goes into it as to why like you'd want to choose a job, yes or no, depending on your situation. So
Very true.
yeah, so
I never thought about it like that.
because I did, because I'm like, because at first I was trying to figure out like what do you want, I wanted somewhere closer. Then that's sad, because then the one closest, I didn't end up liking you like that.
Yeah.
I'm like, I like the hospital, but I did not like that unit. And then even when I go on the other units, I'm like, it's okay, but it's
Yeah.
like, I don't know, something ain't right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know for me, team is a big thing, which I don't have as much as full pool now. But since I've been in the same units, because the same units are short, now I know those people or whatever. I know most of the float pool people, they have to be strong nurses, because how can you float to other places if you're not?
Right.
So I know I could call them and be like, what is this or
Right.
whatever. But I know, like, in my last job, it was like a handful of nurses that I could call for help, or else it's just me. Like,
No,
and
really.
the charge nurse was not reliable, especially in emergency situations. At this point, I'm like, just pay me to do all the jobs, because y'all not doing nothing. And I'm like, that's very important, especially as a new nurse, but you don't really have control over that at times.
You'll definitely learn very fast that you cannot trust everybody because they have an RN behind their name. Like,
As hard as nursing school is, I'm like, how did y'all get here? I don't understand. I felt like I was fighting for my life. Were we not fighting the same thing?
yeah.
I'm like, I don't understand. I'm like, and then how did the dots not connect?
Yeah.
I'm like, the hypertension you see in the book ain't this person? Like, what's the first thing they told us to do? Think back. I need you to, like, she's use your brain. I'd be like, think back. Did you change the cuff size? Did you check the monitor? Let's really think realistically here
Was it
before
the positioning.
Come on.
Like,
Did they just go for a jog?
Right.
Like, let's think about this. Because they've had patients they wanted to upgrade to IMU. And I'm like, okay, well, what were they doing before? Oh, yeah, they were just doing this and doing that. And doing, okay, so maybe that's why they're tired.
Right.
Like, I'm just like,
Give them 20 minutes and try again. Like,
this is not a normal. Okay, if it's normal, it's bad.
Yeah.
Then sometimes with COPD patients, I'm going to need y'all to learn. Didn't y'all read this in the book? They supposed to be low. Why are we trying to make them 99%?
Yeah.
I be like, flabbergasted. Flabbergasted. I'm like, I'm not understanding You ask pulmonology. Because then you have some nurses, you have to put orders in so people can know because they're stupid. Like nursing communication, keep the patient between 89 and 92% of oxygen. Like you have to do that sometimes because it's not common sense.
Yeah.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah, that is crazy.
But I'll be seeing it. And I just be like,
oh. Yeah.
So I'll be understanding when the family members be tripping behind the nurses.
Low key.
Because I'd be tripping too.
Low key. Sometimes I'm just like, I'd be worried too if they were caring for me. So
yeah. So the team for me is big, but like I said, that's something I like missed out on because of the float pool. But I wouldn't do it if I was a new nurse. Like I'm confident in myself, so I'm just like I don't need a team. I have to work without teams at times, so I'm like, okay, I know I can do it. Just give me the doctor because they're the ones that's going to put the orders in anyway. And if something happens, I'm just going to say, the doctor told me to do this and I charted this and I said this. I'm not the one with the medical degree.
Right.
I'm just a nurse.
That's above me.
Right. So at that point, I'm like, but as a staff nurse, team definitely, I don't know if it would make me quit a job, but I know it would make me stay.
Yes.
I'm like, you'd have to be doing something purposely to me, and then I'm gonna report you to HR and get you fired. Like it's gonna be something. Maybe if it's somebody up top that I know I like, but it's a regular peer coworker, I'm not gonna quit behind them. I'm just gonna move around you, but they'll make me stay. But I don't think it caused me to leave unless they're really doing something. At that point, you'd have to really be doing something at that point it's gonna be reportable to HR, so you won't be here much longer. Hopefully, that would piss me off. If somebody was doing something and then we're not properly reprimanded, that'd give me pause.
Oh, that happened all the time at my first hospital.
Yeah, I'm like, that would give me pause.
Because manager was a friend, of course.
Yeah, so then I'd be like...
And another thing, if you were brown, things happen differently for brown people.
Yeah, see, that's a different situation. Then I'd be like, so y'all just like that. But still, I'm a snitch, and then I'm going to quit. They're racist. Like, I'm going to be going off.
Yeah.
While I'm securing my next job.
Yeah.
Because I just feel like a moral duty.
Low key, that's what I said about one of the nurses at my first facility. I was like, well, nobody reports her. So it's going to continue to happen because nobody knows that it's happening. Mm-hmm. Like, you have to say something.
And people don't be wanting to say nothing.
No, they don't.
I've learned that real quick in the nursing community.
She had been there like 20 plus years. But it's like, it's time for you to go home because you don't know how to act. You don't know what's appropriate and not appropriate to say. And then
because no one's ever said anything, so at that time too, how can they even be corrected?
Exactly.
Because no one's ever said anything.
Exactly.
So they don't know anything is wrong sometimes.
Yeah.
So we're going to close today's episode. And before we do that, we scrub and sip. So that's where we go release something negative. Everything we said was like, eh. We said some good things too, though. But we're going to scrub some of the things we don't like in the nurse community. And then we're going to sip to something positive or something that we liked or enjoyed. You want to go first or you want me to go?
You go so I can see what I'm supposed to do.
Okay. I thought that real quick. Because I told y'all on Tuesday I was in... It wasn't triage, that fast track stuff. Because at first I was like, what is this? Because every ER is different. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay. So once I realized what it was, I was like, okay, I get it now. So we were there to help. This is my problem with helping. Because helping I'm not here to do your job.
Right. I'm
here to assist you do yours.
Right.
So this is why I like to have my own patient assignment. Because then... if I say no, then you gonna be looking at me funny, and I'm gonna be looking at you funny, and then it's gonna just be a problem because I'm not gonna back down. So there is like one ER nurse there when we showed up. There was others in the lobby, but y'all know I told y'all we were kind of in the back doing the blood work and all that stuff. So I don't know if her job was to like arrange like pulling people from the lobby to go back to those rooms and like deciding like the flow of it. and then she was delegating to us the actual task. But I'm like, we're a float pool. We don't know. We ain't been down here like that in this area before, so we don't know what to do. So you have to tell us. And she did. But some of this, I'm like, are you telling us because like we get taken advantage of, or like what? How is this working? So, girl, you couldn't sit down for 2 seconds before she tried to give you another task. And I'm looking at her like, okay, you could draw blood too, though.
Yeah.
Like, after you did this in your mind, okay, we got 4 people down here, and it was a lot of us. So I'm like, look, each person can have one person in the room and call it a day. Like, I feel like that's cool.
Yeah.
And then once they caught up, send them back out and then bring the next 4.
Yeah.
In the meantime, though, you could start an IV. You could do this, you could do that. And it's not like she didn't do anything. I just felt like she wasn't doing enough. Because I'm like, I sat down for 2 seconds while you didn't ate your nachos over here. You can do that blood that you asked me could I do and let me sit for 2 seconds. Just because I'm like sitting for 2 seconds don't mean I'm available.
Right.
So I'm scrubbing that because I just don't like how people do that. I'm like, when I ask people for help, I'm like, if you're able to, if you don't mind. I think I need that precursor because she was at one point, it was like towards the end of the shift. At this point, I'm tired because I'm like, we've been running all day. And then, because at first I'm like, am I tripping? But then somebody else said something after I said something too, like talking to them about it. And I'm like, okay, I'm not tripping. She is like bugging. And she's like, girl, I'm zoned out. I got an AirPod in my other ear. Because I'm like, we got 2 hours left. I'm not trying to do nothing else. She's like, okay, we have one patient that needs blood or something like that. And another patient had like a laceration on their hand. We need to soak it underwater or something to clean it up so they can get a better visual. Which one do you want to do? So I'm not really listening because I ain't trying to do neither. I'm trying to get you to do something because I ain't seen you moved in a while.
Yeah.
So one girl already left to do one of the tasks. This is me and my peripheral seeing that. But she didn't say like verbally she was going to do it. But I knew that's what she was going to do because she was one of them busybody people. She can't stay still. So then I'm like, if you presented me with 2 options, you say which one you want to do and somebody else already doing the other one, why can't you do the last one? I'm just not understanding.
Yeah.
So I took a little time to move. I think she knew I wasn't moving. So then she was going to try to do it. But then I already had one up to go to the restroom and we trying to burn calories. So I was like, let me get my steps in. I got to pass by the room anyway. So I was like, put your hand under the water. Like, oh, just put your hand under the water. And she ended up coming in there because I think she did think I was going to do it.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I didn't like that. I was like, girl, we saving your life today. Without us, you would have to do all this stuff. Yeah. I'm like, come on, you could do a little work.
Yeah.
And I was just like, girl, I didn't like that. So I'm scrubbing that. I don't like how people be asking for help. And I don't like when you don't have a patient assignment. Even one time I've had to work as a tech and then they're asking me, can I start IVs and do this? I'm not a task nurse. I'm already doing tech work. Yeah. They already got a job. It's a whole job title for a reason.
Yeah.
They don't be doing all this. Well, some of them do if they're like took the class. But no, I'm not. I've got your vitals. I did your blood sugars. Don't ask me for nothing else. And it's ops, so nobody's getting a bath. You'll be home in 2 hours. I'm like, leave me alone.
I guess I'll piggyback off of your scrub. All these people who are like salty and mad at travel nurses for no reason. Y'all gotta cut that out. Because in reality, if we weren't here, you would be picking up the slack. The 2 patients we took, the 4 patients we took, whatever number of patients we are assigned, those would be y'all's. So like, why are you mad that we're here? Are you mad because we're making more money to do the same job? Because no one's holding a gun to your head saying you have to stay at this position. You could be doing what we're doing too, but you're not. So like, are you jealous? Or like, I'm just confused as to what it is. Because if I was drowning and I needed help and someone showed up to do that for me, I would be so thankful because you're still getting that $40 or $20 or whatever you make. And you
doing
can have
work.
your 2 patients. Exactly. Or you can have your 4 patients because I'm not here to help you and take 2 of them off of you. So
you decide.
You decide.
I be feeling that too because as float pool, I'm relieving the staff too. So I'm like, girl, I'm coming to help you.
We're literally here to help you. And you want to trash talk us. Like, I do agree that there are too many nurses now traveling who don't know the butt from the head because they didn't sit at bedside long enough to really learn the skills.
Yeah.
But a lot of these people have been doing this for a very long time. A lot of them have been nurses for longer than you have been a nurse. So like back off and just thank them for being there and what they contribute to the unit, because again, we're just there to help and lighten the load. So, and you can do it too. It's open for everyone. Nobody told you to stay where you are. So let's go ahead and scrub that whack attitude y'all have. Like, I ain't gonna be mad at the help.
They
like,
just be people just be having attitudes. I'd be like, why are you so
why
bad?
are you
It's because
so
you in a situation you don't want to be in.
Like, what? I have family too. Like, it's a sacrifice to do this, yes, but no one said you can't make the sacrifice either.
They not gonna do it.
All kind of families travel. Single people travel, couples travel. I have seen full blown families travel with like new babies. They hired a nanny. Like there are so many people who do this in different kind of ways. Like, that's up to you. You just don't want to. It is what it is.
Just be happy people coming to help you. That's all I say.
That's how I feel.
I'm gonna sip to when you able to look at your coworker and be like, and they feel you. I love that moment, because when I was talking about that scrub and I looked at that nurse and I was like, because I feel differently about different things.
Yeah.
So I just be like, is it me or like, because when she got to that point, I'm like, ask me one more motherfucking thing to do. Like, that's how I really feel it. But I'm like, yeah, I'll do it, or I'll move slow. I'll get to it eventually. You know, I'm not doing it right now. Well, I looked at one point, I'm like, when you able to just look at a coworker and they feel what you feeling, I love that. So I'm sipping to that.
Yeah, that's dope.
It'd be like, it happens many times, like in different scenarios.
Yeah.
Y'all just connect eyes and they know.
Because they know what's up.
I'm sipping to that.
What am I sipping to? I am sipping to the community of brown skinned women who always find each other no matter where they go.
That's another connecting the eyes and like, I see you.
Like yesterday, my neighbor was new to the unit. She was brown, and I was just like giving her the rundown again because I've been there for a while. And she was just like, people kind of, and I'm like, yes, girl, like you're not tripping. And we just had a good day being neighbors, and I think we vibed because we were the brown skin on that side of the unit, and I appreciate that. I feel like we always find us.
Yeah, because it's always an instant connection when it's somebody like your same culture and all that stuff. Because it's like you're already feeling me.
Yeah.
Because you know what it's like.
And especially in critical care, it is not very diverse. There are very few Black people in critical care, I feel like, just throughout the whole spectrum. And it's noticeable, and you can feel like really isolated sometimes, especially as a traveler and you're like the only little bit of color. But where I'm at right now, we are in that thing. It is many of us. That day, it just happened to be us.
Shout out to the melanins.
Period. Y'all better chase the bag, okay?
But I learned too throughout my nursing thing. I'm like, I think all the minorities got something in common, because I'd be like, really? The Indians be feeling me. I'd be like, girl, and they'd be like, yes, and I'd be like, okay. I don't know what the whites be on. Sorry, y'all. Yes. Some of y'all cool. Some of y'all, I don't know what y'all be doing. But I'd be like, because at first I'd be like, okay, but yeah, Black people. And then I'm like, a lot of us got a lot more in common once I start talking. And I'd be like, so you feel me? I'd be like, okay, I see it.
Yeah, I was saying the brown people.
Yeah, like we got a lot of same vibes. Yeah, same values and stuff. It's so good to be seen and heard.
Yeah. Yeah. And like she mentioned earlier, like nursing, the team part of nursing really helps make it fulfilling and easier.
It's going to carry you through.
It does.
The hard days that you don't know how you would have made it through.
Yeah.
Though your people, that'll do a lot.
Yep. And it can be hard to find your people when you always moving around. So
I still got my people, the girls. They still be texting me like we in the same, I'm on the same unit. They still be texting me, talking about what happened on the unit and da-da-da-da-da. Can you believe this? I'm like, girl, I don't know who that is. I sent them a screenshot yesterday of my critical values. But yeah, once you got your people, and they understand. So that's irreplaceable.
Yeah. For sure.
So hopefully you guys enjoyed today's episode. I definitely enjoyed talking to Bari. It's always easy to talk to her because we already talk. So I know she could talk. I was telling somebody the other day, I was like, not everybody's able to like carry good conversation.
No.
When you thursday just talk, it's a topic.
Yeah.
Like, you know, but it's not that. So it was a pleasure having her on today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed our conversation. Go ahead and like the video if you like it. Subscribe, all of the fun things. We're available on podcasts, Apple, and Spotify, as well as YouTube for those who are just listening. And we'll see you guys next time.
Period. Bye.